Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Misa and today I have another tag video for you, and today's one is called the Hindsight is 2020 reader tag. I was kindly tagged by Tom from Tom LA Books, whose channel I enjoy so much, so I will leave a link to his channel down below, and thank you Tom for tagging me. And this tag was originally created by Erin from Erin Go Read, whose channel I will also link down below too. So anyway, before we get started with this tag today, I should let you know that this morning I realized that in the last tag video I did, which was the booktube backstage tag, I forgot to answer one of the questions. So I apologize for that. In the description box of that video, I have the correct number of questions in the correct order, but I only realized so many days later that I hadn't actually answered that question. I'm endeavoring not to repeat that mistake today, so let's get started. Question 1. What were you like as an early and learning reader? I've answered a question similar to this in a previous video, which was the booktube newbie tag, where I explained how I got started with reading when I was still living in Japan and only speaking Japanese at the time. So for this video, I think I will tell you about how I got started reading in English. So I didn't speak a word of English until I was 9 years old. I did attend English speaking classes when I was in Japan when I was very small, but to be honest, they were not very effective in setting me up speaking actual English. So I moved to Australia when I was in year 4 in primary school, and I went straight into a local school called the Surfers Paradise State School. So that was a very interesting time for me because there were no other Japanese children in my class at that school. So that really helped me get started with speaking English because I had no choice. So even as a child, I remember just trying to communicate with other children with body language, and I remember having a small amount of vocabulary before I went to Australia, so like some limited nouns and verbs, but I was not able to string words together. So all I could say really was, how are you, what's your name, kind of thing. And it was very lucky because all the children were so nice to me from day one. And when it came to reading, we all had to sit down for reading time, I suppose, as a whole class. So we would all be given a copy of the chapter book that we were working on, and our teacher would ask each student to read a sentence or two, and we would go around in circles and everybody would be following the sentence on the page, kind of thing. So I remember my earliest experiences of that. I could follow what was going on, but I couldn't verbalize the words. So I would read or struggle to read one sentence and the teacher would be like, okay, thank you, next person. I mean, I'm sure it was completely unintelligible what I was saying, but I became fluent really quickly. I was 9, so I think it took me about 6 months to be able to speak English, and after that I never looked back. I'm really grateful to the teacher I had in my first year in Australia. I remember her name was Miss Rafter, and she was my form teacher, and she was so patient with me and helped me so much in catching up with my English. So without that, I guess I wouldn't be here speaking fluently with you today on YouTube. So I'm really thankful. So question 2 is, what book or book series got you excited about reading as a kid? And I think I've answered a question similar to this in the booktube newbie tag as well. But again, I think I talked about my earliest reading experiences. So the books mentioned in that video were all Japanese. So now I think I'll talk about the English books I was into when I was young. And that included Roald Dahl. My favorite was BFG and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And at that time in Australia, we were all into Paul Jennings and his quirky stories. And I used to love watching the series called Round the Twist. And there were so many books. I can't remember what they were called. They were called like Uncanny and things like that. I'm not really sure if people outside Australia read these books, but they were really fun. Question 3, has there been a person in your life, real or fictional, who inspired you to be a reader? My first answer for this is my mum. She's a huge reader, and I think she's been reading for as long as I can remember. So she's never without a book, and she's the one who also encouraged me to buy my Kindle and everything. So yeah, she has been a big influence in my life about my reading. And I guess at different times of my life, I've had friends who like to read, and I still do have friends who read, and we kind of talk about books and stuff. My dad is not really a reader, but I have an early memory of him reading the dictionary prior to us moving to Australia, and he was studying English. So that image just stuck with me, and when I study languages, I also read the dictionary. Question 4, at what point did you begin to identify as a reader? In answer to this question, I would say that I've had different phases in my life where I did identify as a reader and then I didn't. So in my earliest years, I would definitely say I was a reader right from the get-go. I don't really remember a time that I didn't read or when I was too young to read. And in my teenage years, I wouldn't say that I was reading so much because I really was lost as to what to read. I came from a different sort of cultural background and the language background, and I wasn't really sure how to find books to read, and nobody was really helping me at that time. So unfortunately, it wasn't until I was in uni that I was reading again, and then after that I somehow stopped again, and I was just so busy and there were so many things going on in my life. So my most recent phase, which has continued until now fortunately, probably started a few years ago in my mid-30s, and I'm just so glad that I'm back reading again, because for a while there it was really hard to find the time with so much going on. So I hope to continue reading for a long time to come. Question 5 is, how has being a reader shaped your life and your worldview? I guess it's a bit tricky to answer this question because clearly there are other things outside of reading that has helped shape who I am, but I try to read broadly, so I guess that would have influenced the way I think. I've moved a lot in my life and now I live in Malaysia, so I guess my personal experiences influence the way I read rather than the other way around as much. Question 6 is, tag someone who's reading history you would like to know more about. And I've seen this tag going around a lot on booktube, so if you haven't done this already, please consider yourself tagged. And with any luck, I have not missed any questions this time. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. And please consider subscribing if you haven't done so already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!